All right. Let's try to find a seat and all get together. We all got lots to talk about today. We just had such an exciting day. Oh, me. But hey, who? What? I know, Chairman Martin. We're looking forward to the dogs doing well. It'll be good. But hey, thank you for everybody being here this afternoon. Just make a couple announcements. One really important announcement, just to get started with. You know, we're charged with putting out a report at the end of every other year or so, and we're going to work on that along with another additional Rural Development Council meeting on December 7th, 8th, and 9th in Blue Ridge. And part of it will be on agricultural things on the 7th. On the 8th, in the morning special, will be on health care. Afternoon of the 8th will be, as the committee only, will be getting together, working on the report, and the morning of the 9th, the same to approve it or argue about it or change it or do something with it. But so put that down, and Miss Deidre Powell, where's she at? There, over here, will be sending you information out very quickly to get your room reservations and all that good stuff. And I know it'll be a fun meeting, and shoot, we'll probably get Miss Rhonda to bring us some apple pie. How about that? I know you will. But without further ado, you know, when Chairman Watson and I were talking about this, and Chairman Corbett, you know, we've done a lot in the last couple of years to help with broadband, to facilitate it and make it better. And we just wanted to get together this afternoon with two of our partners that we thought have been very important to this. There are a lot of other partners too, but the bills we passed really specifically work to open doors for them. And Georgia EMC, Jason, you're up first, and tell us what good we've done. And also, I know you will, if you're never too shy, what we need to do. And we always throw that out to you guys to let us know what's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, great to be here with you. As you said, this is I was telling you when I saw you earlier, this is probably my favorite type of testimony to give, which is mostly all good news, with really no ask from you guys. Just thanking you for what you do, updating on your progress of what's happened since Senate Bill 2, and just talk about the great work that this committee, in particular this Rural Development Council, and all of you on here have done in our state on the issue of broadband. So without further ado, for those of you that don't know me, I think I know most everybody in this room. My name is Jason Bragg, Vice President of Government Relations with Georgia EMC. We're the trade association for the state's 41 electric cooperatives. Those cooperatives are member-owned and run by locally elected boards. We serve about 4.4 million Georgians with electricity, cover 73% of the state's landmass, and operate in 157 of 159 counties. And while our original mission, set up back in the 30s, was to provide electricity to mostly rural areas of the state at the time, the General Assembly, in y'all's wisdom and working with y'all as partners together, have passed Senate Bill 2, and now a lot of our members are engaging in broadband-related businesses that I'm here to talk to you about today, to try to help bring connectivity to the communities that they serve. First, as I said, I want to thank this committee. I want to thank both Chairman Jaspers and Chairman Watson for the hard work they've done here. I also want to give a big shout out to Chairman Emeritus Terry England, and also the late Chairman Jay Powell. I know this was an issue that was very close to his heart. I worked very closely with him on this, as a lot of y'all in this room have, and miss him all the time. But it's great seeing his legacy and everything we've done here, and it's really exciting to do. So today, as a reminder, Senate Bill 2, as I said, germinated out of an idea that came up in this committee from the first year that y'all are meeting. And it was essentially, we had a gray area in the law where EMCs, it was unclear of whether or not EMCs in the state could provide could provide broadband-related services to their members. And so in talking with Chairman Powell and talking with a lot of you, we made the effort to go ahead and push forward legislation to clear up that statutory clarity. So what Senate Bill 2 did is it allowed our members to engage in broadband-related businesses, and also set up a model for if those EMCs wanted to serve those people directly and provide retail broadband services, they could do that under the structure set up in Senate Bill 2. We think it's a great one, and I've got some great news to show you here in a second. So Governor Kemp signed that bill in April of 2019, and at the time we had two of our EMCs, Blue Ridge Mountain EMC and Habersham EMC. I'll go ahead and just show the map, because Blue Ridge Mountain and Habersham up in the northeast corner of the state that were providing broadband services, and they have been, in many cases, been providing it for a number of years. Now, 2 years later, a little over 2 years later, we have 19 of our EMCs around the state that are either partnering with someone or either partnering with an existing telecom provider, providing those services themselves through an affiliate, or some other unique arrangement with another broadband provider or company to help bring that service to their communities. And so this is kind of our map slide. I want you to take a look at it, and this is kind of be the basis of what I'll talk about today. So just kind of the top line numbers. I know they're there, and I won't repeat them, but we have, as I said, 19. We have 6 that are using the affiliate model set up under Senate Bill 2, which requires us to have approval of cost allocation manuals, no cross-subsidization between the electric side and the broadband side, and that's all governed at the PSC, the cross-subsidization provisions of that. Of these announced projects, and when you see that, when you see this, and I'll go into detail on some of the different colors and what they mean in a second, but when you see this, these projects range from where an EMC is helping a provider bring fiber to large commercial customers for economic development in areas, all the way down to the ones in green, which are signed on with a partner to ultimately provide service to every single person in their service territory. So it's a wide spectrum. It's not, there's not a one-size-fits-all model. Everybody's taking a different approach. What works for one co-op may not work for the one next to it. Our service territories are unique. Territories are unique. They're in some cases very large and very diverse. In particular, some of these in South Georgia cover a very large landmass. Some of the ones around the metro area may have lots of people in Gwinnett County, like Jackson EMC in particular has a lot of folks in Gwinnett County, but then, as you get to the outer reaches, they're a little more sparsely populated. So a vast majority, of these projects that we've announced, as I say, 77, this will touch part or all of 77 counties, and it combines about $580 million that has been committed. And when I say committed, that's money either from the EMC, money they've obtained through the FCC programs like the FCC's RDOF program, which I'll talk about in a minute, USDA Reconnect, and other sources. So when I say committed, I don't want that to sound like it's an EMC obligating that much money. It's just an aggregation of all the funding that they've gotten, that them and their partners have gotten for broadband projects around the state. The vast majority of these projects are being built with fiber to the home technology, which, as you know, is the gold standard for broadband, and in some cases can deliver speeds to the customer at 2 gigabits per second, and in some cases can deliver up to 2 gigabits per second, maybe, and possibly even symmetrical, depending on if you have a really, really fast connection. So let's briefly touch on kind of EMCs invest in fiber. Investments in fiber is really nothing new for our EMCs. We've been doing it for a number of years, and in some cases decades. An EMC-owned fiber communication network allows instant, seamless communication with our electrical grid system, and enhances our electric reliability. It also can assist in quicker restoration times. A lot of poles now have sensors on them. We can know exactly where a pole goes out. So the days that you call in your EMC and say, my power's out, and they send a lineman to go out and look where those poles are, they can pretty much know, most of them that have fiber networks can know basically right now where exactly that pole is and save the time and trouble of having to do that. And also, as I said, it allows us to operate our electric systems more efficiently, which ultimately, as we're operate more efficiently, which ultimately saves the EMC consumer at the end of the line, because on an electric system, obviously line loss and electricity being lost over a span of time, any way that you can cut that down is going to ultimately save the consumer money, because the co-op, as member-owned co-ops, they're paying for that electricity when they get it, and anything they can do to make it more efficient is great. Fiber also has the benefit of handling large quantities of data, which allows an EMC to create a partnership. I'll talk about some of those in a second. Allows an EMC to leverage that additional fiber for either their affiliate or somebody else to use it to provide broadband services. So, as I said, Georgia is really seen as a leader nationwide on co-op broadband. I know I talked to my peers in a lot of states, and they really look to Georgia, and they look to the model that you guys have set up as really one that works around the country. And Georgia is really, as I said, we're kind of a learning lab if you look around the nation at the different business models and different ways that our co-ops are working with partners and doing it themselves. And so it's a really unique thing that folks around the country are taking notice of. So you guys should be really proud about that. So I want to highlight 4 recent project announcements just to give you and these are, I kind of picked 4 different ones in different business models, and I want to just go through them. I know some of these projects, I know I see some of you in the room that were at the announcements of these, some of you that may even had a speaking role at them, so I want to thank you for that. So let's start with Ultima EMC, which is in the blue in the kind of the southeast area, kind of the Vidalia area. So announced back in October, Ultima EMC formed their subsidiary under Senate Bill 2, Ultima Fiber, and they're bringing broadband to Toombs, Montgomery, Lawrence, Emmanuel, Treutlen, Johnson, and Tattnall counties. That project is, yep, right there in the blue. Thanks, Representative Perkle. That project is using an estimated $29 million that was obtained both through the FCC's Rural Digital Opportunity Fund program and also through the USDA Reconnect. Ultima EMC has already begun the construction of that fiber network, and hopes and the service expects to be fully built out in a span of 3 to 5 years. Although some customers may go on as early as the end of this year. Next one I want to highlight is Sumter EMC down in southwest Georgia. It's in orange on this map that I'm showing, kind of down in the Americus area. This is a really exciting project that Sumter EMC has entered into with Windstream. I know a lot of you have Windstream territories in your area. They're calling it, the new name and the product they're using to deliver is Kinetic by Windstream. So in late September, Sumter EMC and Windstream announced their project, which is going to deliver broadband to 16,000 homes and businesses in southwest Georgia. This is a really unique collaboration that has essentially Sumter and Kinetic by Windstream working together to help solve this problem. They'll build about 1,000 miles of fiber across 11 counties in that southwest Georgia area. And when the project is complete, Sumter EMC, the percentage of member owners of Sumter EMC that will have access to broadband will increase from currently 35% to 84%. Through this agreement, Sumter EMC and Connect by Windstream are going to coordinate their engineering and construction activities, and the installed fiber network will not only bring broadband, but also benefit the electric system as well. The next group I want to highlight are the EMCs in green, which we're calling our ConnectSign group. They're a group that's working with ConnectSign Connect. 6 of those EMCs, Southern Rivers Energy, Central Georgia EMC, Washington EMC, Satilla REMC, forget they always love their REMC there. You know that, Dominic, don't you? Middle Georgia EMC and Irwin EMC are in a partnership with ConnectSign Connect and these projects are really exciting. These are entire service territory-wide projects that will ultimately serve about 148,000 homes and businesses in those areas. Some of these projects have already started cutting customers on. I know that we did a flip the switch for one of their test customers a couple of months ago, and I know that they're testing that system and getting it done. Looking forward to rolling it out to service. But most of those co-ops involved in that ConnectSign group have a project built out anywhere between 2 and 4 years to be fully built out. Finally, I want to highlight Carroll EMC over in West Georgia, that Carrollton area. It's in orange, kind of the top left one on orange on the border of the state. So Carroll EMC is a really unique one that we're really proud of. They work together with a local telecom provider, Sync Global, in their area to go after some of the USDA Reconnect funds that were available. And combined with the EMC investment and the investment by Sync Global, who is now using the name, they just announced their new name, Crossbeam, is going to be their residential broadband service name. So, but they utilize that USDA Reconnect money to bring broadband to about 10,000 homes and businesses in that area of West Georgia. It'll affect Carroll, Haralson, Heard, Paulding, and Polk counties. So some really exciting things, and that's a great example of 2 local companies. Sync Global is based out of Bremen. 2 local companies coming together, trying to solve a problem and figuring out a way to do it. And so it's really exciting. So finally, I just want to hit on funding. I know I talked a lot about and used a lot of our acronyms, and I want to kind of talk a little bit about what all that is. So EMCs are encouraged about the commitment that both the House and and federal policymakers are making to this issue of rural broadband. It's a one that's a really exciting one to see. It's a bipartisan issue. Everybody agrees this is an issue we need to address. And funding has been, and the doors have really been opened up lately on funding, and for not only EMC involved projects, but really everybody to provide, because as we've always said, EMCs want to be a tool in the state's toolbox. We're not going to solve this on our own. We have our friends from the Telephone Association here that are talking about the great things they're doing. There's great things that other providers in the state are doing. We're part of the team, and we're happy to be on it. But on the funding side, as the governor likes to mention, there's a unique opportunity in our state to make generational changes in broadband, and I really think that's the case, particularly with the amount of federal money on the table right now. So the funding sources that we're going after as EMCs, and we're really proud of this, EMCs have been involved in applications, at least since we've had the statutory authority back in 2019. We've been involved or had a partner involved in applying for almost every. I'll tell you, I can't find a program that we haven't tried to pull down funding for. So, we're putting our money where our mouth is in applying for these funds. We're not kind of picking and choosing ones that we may not like the reporting requirements or whatnot. We're opening the doors and trying to see what will stick. But so some of the programs available, there's the USDA Reconnect, which I mentioned, 2 projects that have taken advantage of that funding. That funding has been approximately $1.5 billion. They're on round 3 of that right now. I think the round 3 applications open up maybe later this month. FCC's RDOF fund, which is the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, phase 1 and 2, that was $20 billion. We have a number of our EMCs and their partners that are taking advantage of that project, of that funding source. There is the NTIA Broadband Infrastructure Program, which is a National Telecommunications Infrastructure Administration, which is under the Department of Commerce. They had $288 million that they have used in a grant form, and they will be the agency in charge of administering the $42.5 billion passed as part of the infrastructure bill signed the other day. Obviously, the American Rescue Plan, ARP money, is a big deal. We have a number of our co-ops that are involved in projects applying for those funds. I believe we had 21 different EMCs that are involved as an applicant, and 34 EMCs total that either that supported an existing provider with a letter or some kind of other thing. But all total of that ARP money, the governor has indicated $300 million or so will be available for broadband. I think there was about $3.4 billion in projects requested through that. $878 million of that were EMC-involved projects. So that's something we're really proud of. Obviously, that money is in high demand, but I really think that the state's going to be able to make some really great investments in that'll pay off long term. In closing, I just want to thank the committee for all the hard work. I did that at the front, and I just want to do it again. I thank the committee for all the hard work that y'all put in on this issue. It's really rewarding to see this and rewarding to see kind of the quick results that we're seeing all across our state, not only with our EMCs, but other broadband providers as well. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions and or clarify anything that if I went too fast.
Well, thank you. I just had a few. Thanks for that, Jason. Just most importantly, thank you for recognizing the work of Chairman Powell.
Thank you. I miss him.
Wow.
Happy birthday to him today, by the way.
Tomorrow. Wow. Well, that it's great. I'm just curious. There's 2 things that come to mind. When we looked at, you gave some numbers of one EMC that had moved up to 85%. So I know we're looking down the road a couple of years. They're doing all they can to get to 85%, but Georgia's never going to be satisfied till we. I think we've talked about that before. That 15% that's not.
Yep.
And that's everywhere, all over the state, where there's corners and whatnot. You keep in back your mind, is there things that we can do, not right this minute with all that's out there to help get those people too?
Sure. I think, once, when the RDOF awards are fully awarded, when ARP money is put on top of that for those areas that are eligible that the state's identified, I want to say that I'm sorry, I don't know this. I'm going off the top of my head, so don't hold me to it. It's somewhere in I think about 172,000. I think there's about 300 and something thousand locations. The GTA and people that run the broadband maps know that better than me. Somewhere around 300 and something thousand unserved locations currently. RDOF will knock out about 172,000 of those, I think. And I think some of these federal programs, you're going to really kind of see that number keep kicking up. I think what what we advocate, when we talk to federal members of Congress about broadband policy for the co-ops, what we advocate is let's make sure that all programs focus first on those areas that need it the most, those areas that don't have any access to service, and then kind of backfill areas as we go that may have unserved, or not unserved, underserved type subpar service in some cases.
Sure.
So I think that we'll have a better understanding of that probably in a year, maybe year or two, once you kind of look at where those where those funds go and kind of how they help, in my opinion.
And just following up, our trusty sidekick here, and we were talking just a little bit earlier. Are you suffering, I guess, my EMC, I see on my telephone providers here, on logistics, being able to get stuff to do this?
Yeah.
What's the supply chain like in y'all's world?
The supply chain is challenging, like everywhere else right now. Obviously lead times on equipment is, depends on, I guess, who you are, or if you have some held for you, if you've reserved it back, but we are hearing that from our members that lead times, and, with, the thing, with all the federal money available, I mean, this isn't a Georgia problem, this is a nationwide problem. There's going to be a lot of fiber built and a lot of broadband built all across the country that's going to probably continue to put added strain on that. It's something that it's not, I wouldn't say that we're at a critical peak in our industry yet. But it's certainly something that a lot of folks are really beginning to get a little nervous about. How do we solve that? I think I'd be a billionaire if I could come up with that, I think. But, it's something that we're keeping an eye on, and really working toward, doing the best we can with what we have. And, one of the things on some of these federal programs have deadlines you have to meet in terms of completion. And I know this was a question. We had the FCC chairwoman did a broadband roundtable with some of the folks in this room up at Jackson EMC last Friday with Senator Warnock. And this was one of the issues that was brought up, is there a possibility that some of these federal, completion deadlines could be extended as the supply chain issues persist? And so I think it's a wait and see at this moment, but it's something we're paying very close attention to.
Oh, thank you. Chairman Parsons, I believe you have a question.
I do. Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to ask you, Jason, you and I have had a good many conversations over the last several years, I guess, really about this. And I know that some of these projects down there in southeast Georgia, maybe South Georgia, maybe all of them, that's what I want to clarify now, is where the EMC has received funding, whether through loans or through government grants or whatever, for the fiber itself, which the EMCs, like you said, are using for the grid, actually, to control the grid. And then you lease off excessive bandwidth to these companies that you're partnering with.
Yes, sir.
Now, is that, I know it is on a couple of the Connexion, I think
Yeah,
it's called
Connexion
now.
Connect. Yeah.
Now, is that the way it is on every one of them, or is there some of them the EMCs are actually putting the fiber all the way to the house themselves? The EMCs are doing
So
it.
those projects are the fiber is going to the home. The other projects like Sumter and Windstream, it's more of it's a shared where, Sumter will own some of the fiber, Windstream will own some of the fiber, dual purpose. There's some of those that are doing fiber swaps. I know Amicalola EMC is doing a fiber swap project with ETC, which is a telecom carrier up there. And so it really depends on it's kind of project specific on whether the EMC owns all the fiber or whether it's shared.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the funding that you mentioned. Some of it came from the FCC or the Connect Fund. I forget which one that's from.
The RDOF.
And then there's the funds that come from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And then these funds are coming through this big thing, the Biden thing. So I was just wondering, I guess that's part, you'd mentioned the PSC, which I don't know why that they would be involved in broadband myself, but apparently they are involved as far as to prevent any cross. It seems like that there is a likelihood there, or a place where cross subsidization would definitely occur. And there's got to be some, because what you should be getting is just the EMC should just be getting money related to broadband for what you're providing for broadband yourselves, not what these companies that are partners are doing. They should be, whatever funds they need, they should be going out and getting those funds themselves. Now, is that the way it's working or not?
So the way that the RDOF, so let's back up on the So it's kind of it's a different, if it's on the cross subsidization question, the EMCs that are in blue that have affiliate models where the affiliate wholly owned by the EMC is providing that service.
Yeah.
No cross subsidization. That's policed by the Public Service Commission. They have to approve a cost allocation manual that says, how that fiber is allocated to the affiliate. The affiliate has to pay for that, and the PSC polices that. In the case of the partnership projects, which are those in green and orange, the PSC has no oversight over those. Those are, that's whoever the EMC chooses to work with as their partner. As I said, in some cases, Windstream,
Right.
Sync Global, or ConnectSign Connect, whoever.
Okay. Very good. I appreciate you always being responsive when I've had questions, and I've had a lot of questions. I would say this one thing, no disrespect from this commission, which I've been a ex officio member since it was created, but the idea for EMCs being involved in this actually predates it, at least back to when we had the joint House-Senate Rural Development Study Committee that I co-chaired with Senator Gooch, and we talked about this very thing.
Yes, sir.
And the EMCs were not excited at all at that time about getting into this business.
Things have evolved rapidly since 2015, 2016.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate
You're welcome.
Representative Al Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Jason, I know that all the young ladies want to dance with you because you sure can dance, my friend. But
I don't know.
I want to know that you're going to be that billionaire with that idea, since it's a natural progression, since you're already a millionaire. But
Not so much. I got twin 5-year-olds and live up here. I'm about broke.
let me say this, that the partnership down in Southeast Georgia between Darien Telephone,
Yes, sir.
that it's going to help 3 counties, and historically coastal counties have been broadband deserts, and that's going to be a big help. And I was at the announcement, and phase 1 is now cable ready. So we're moving.
Yep.
And that's important. It's going to change a lot of things down there. There's access to broadband, and we're excited about it. But for those who are from particularly the big metropolitan areas, I just be reminded my other telephone company down there, which is now CenturyLink, but it was Coastal Utilities that installed the first complete fiber optic telephone system in America, and that was in Richmond Hill.
That's awesome.
So we've been kind of keeping up.
Well, thank you for your comments, and thank you for coming down. I know you were at that announcement that Coastal EMC and Darien did, and I believe Rhonda GTA is going to cover that project. We didn't want to cover the same projects that our members are involved in together, so Rhonda's going to cover that and give you a little more about it. We did.
Chairman Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Jason. A couple quick questions. So how many total EMCs do we have?
41.
41. And so we have 19 that are doing this now. So there's a good many that are not involved in this activity yet. And I guess my question would be, why and what do we need to do to help convince them to start doing this?
I'll tell you, this map that I have up here, I've updated it 12 times this year already, and I think we'll have an update maybe in the next couple of months again for it to add a couple more. Right now I think we have some that are obviously EMCs are conservative businesses, have been traditionally for the 80, 90 years that most of them have been around. I think that you probably have some let's see how the model's working. Some that may not want to be the first man to jump into the water. They want to look and see how it's working. Some may have, there's some areas that they have great local telecom providers in their area that they don't need to get into this business. There's some in the metro area that have great service already, Cobb EMC, Coweta Fayette, Sawney, those ones that kind of ring Atlanta. They're looking at ways that they can help, but getting into the business or going a system-wide project just isn't feasible because there's already competition in the marketplace. So I don't think you're ever going to see every one of them. But, I do think that as you see some of these different models take off and as they see them working, we may have some that look to kind of jump on, as we get going. But, I can tell you there's not a board of the 41 EMCs in the state. There's not a board in the state that hasn't taken a look at this and look at this problem. You know, they hear it from their members. They hear it from their local elected officials. They hear it from you guys. They're looking at ways they can help. It may not be kind of the jump in the deep end of the pool like some of them are, but I think that there's really some exciting things on the horizon. Now, what can you guys do to help? I think right now, you know, with the funding situation and the funding that was set up in the state budget last year for the state grant program, I know that's kind of been put a little on hold as we deal with the federal money through ARP. That state grant money, it was great to have that grant program funded. Our folks were looking forward to taking advantage of it. It's just we've gotten bigger pots of money to deal with first. But, you know, continue to have a stable source of state funding because as Representative Jaspers mentioned, as we, you know, try to get service to more and more of the state, there's always going to be that area that's going to be the hardest to reach. And that grant program could be a really good kind of backfill on that end, and just in my opinion personally. So, I don't think, you know, really I don't think there's anything that we don't have an ask for you guys right now. You know, I think we want to see how this process plays out, see how these projects work, and then you may have some that may jump on the bus as well with them too. So I know that probably doesn't give you the full answer, but I think that's about as good as I can tell you right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I guess too, another quick one, and this one may be kind of for both of you, but as things progress and move forward, do y'all communicate and work with DCA on our statewide map as we bring people online so that map is adjusted so that as years go by, we're able to see, you know, where the need is in southwest or southeast or wherever that spot is. So y'all stay up to
they
date on it?
update those maps usually in June. I guess they
Every
update
year
them in June. Yeah, so they update them every year. Georgia EMC along with GTA and other providers serve on the broadband Deployment Advisory Council that's the federal one, sorry. But essentially we serve on the advisory committee that GTA and DCA has set up for the maps. And so, you know, we work with them, and our providers that are providing broadband, whether they be an EMC directly or a partner, are participating in those maps to make sure you guys have good information. And I'll tell you on the mapping front, as we talk to federal folks, everybody in every other state is jealous of Georgia's maps. Y'all did a great job in doing those. It is a tool. We have such a leg up on other states when we're looking at how we're going to allocate ARP money in particular that, you know, it was a lot of foresight that went into those, and it's looking really, really smart right now. The federal maps and the new federal maps are going to be based largely kind of on the same process that you guys are using, those location-based maps, and going away from kind of that old census block model.
Chairman Martin.
Thank you. Jason, help me out here because
Yep.
I know we're doing this trying to get to underserved areas, and I think you mentioned the ones that are up there that are orange is they're not affiliates, those are partners, right?
Correct.
Okay, so when you partner, you choose a person on the ground to be your partner?
Yeah, or somebody, you know, a provider comes to you and says, can we, you know, work out a deal with you guys to help expand service in that area?
Okay, so I'm just looking at the map here, and not to pick, but I'm a detailed. I'm unfamiliar with any part of Cobb being underserved.
Well,
How is it we're directing? Well, how is it we're directing money into that area, subsidizing a particular vendor that an EMC may choose over other vendors in that area? Because there's multiple places in Cobb you can get high speed.
sure. I'm not aware. So I'm not aware of any. I mean, I'm not aware of Cobb EMC pulling down any grants or loans from any of those publicly funded sources. Cobb set up a fiber subsidiary that was basically I guess it was a fiber subsidiary that was it was an affiliate model that was aimed at going to commercial areas, but they've now I guess they've de-affiliated that subsidiary, and so it no longer exists, and they are currently working with, you know, Cobb EMC serves not only Cobb, but it goes out a little bit into Paulding and kind of that western Cobb area. There are some areas of their service territory that are unserved and underserved.
Okay, so that you may have gotten me there. So when I'm not familiar exactly with the shape of Cobb County.
Sure.
So when you say Cobb, that is the service area of the EMC,
Yes,
not
sir.
Cobb
Yes,
County.
yes, sir. Cobb
Done.
EMC. Sorry.
That's all I need.
No problem.
Representative Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason, thank you, and thanks for the EMCs for what you were doing, and specifically Satilla REMC, my EMC. They're doing a great job. But just a quick question, and to tie in what Chairman Jasper started with is, Georgians aren't really going to be happy until we have 100% coverage. Of the 236,000 EMC members slated to receive service, is that new members that currently don't have any available service at all, or is that new homes being serviced?
That's the aggregate number of members in those EMCs that will receive the service. Or in the case of Carroll EMC's project, it's 11,000, which is the phase one, which is the USDA money that's going to. So that's a number of people that will get service. It's a little easier to define with the RDOF and the USDA because those are truly unserved areas. Some of the partnership projects that are system wide, like you see in the ones in green, some of those people may already have service in some of those areas. Some may not be adequate. They may not like it, and so that number represents all of those numbers in green. But in the ones in orange, it'll usually be just some or parts of it.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Well, I
no other
appreciate
questions from the committee for Jason? I know you'll see him. If you don't, you'll see him around the halls.
Great
Or
questions.
you can call him and he'll answer the phone.
I will.
That's for sure.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you for filling us in. Next, we have our Georgia Telecommunications Association, Ms. Rhonda Chatham. And Rhonda, if you will, just I know you've got some of your members, and please introduce them.
Okay.
Tell the committee about yourself,
While
what
Blake
y'all
is-
do.
Pull this down. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having us today. We certainly appreciate being here and being able to speak to you about our membership and what we're doing with broadband. Like Jason said, it's exciting to be able to give positive news. Sometimes when you're coming into these things, what do we need to do better? But in our situation, I feel like today is a very positive presentation for our members. So I just want to kind of give you just a brief update on what our members are doing, especially as it relates to Senate Bill 2 and Senate Bill 17. So the Georgia Telecommunications, we have 22 members, and of those members, 14 are independently family-owned, and then 4 are rural commercial companies, and then we have 4 that are co-ops. And Senate Bill 17 relates to the telephone cooperatives, and really what that bill did is it just allowed them to provide broadband to their customers and still remain in their membership. There were some regulation changes and some bylaws that they needed that bill in order to just provide the broadband if someone didn't want a telephone. So I just kind of want to go over our members that are the co-ops and do that first and let you know what they're doing and the great job that they're doing. So first up, we have Bullock Telephone Cooperative, and they are 100% built-out fiber to the home in locations in their territories. They're currently serving 11,067 locations, and they pass an estimated 13 locations. And right now, their high speed that they offer is 1 gig, and that's synchronous. And then they also have packages lower, so if somebody doesn't need a gig, they can request a lower speed at a more affordable rate. And all of our telephone companies, they all do that. So they have the lower speeds if people want those. And then we have Pineland Telephone Cooperative, and they're also 100% build out fiber to the home and location. And they serve 9,500 locations. They pass somewhere around 14,000 locations, and their speed also is up to 1 gig. And then we have Planners Telephone Cooperative, and they're also 100% built out fiber to the home in the locations that they serve. And they serve 8,250 locations, and they pass somewhere around 20,000. And their speeds are also up to 1 gig. And then we have Progressive Rural Telephone Cooperative, and they're also 100% built out fiber to the home. And they actually just completed their fiber build out within, the last couple of months. And so their max speed right now is 100 down, 20 up, because they're still waiting on the electronics to install that on the fiber in order to offer up to the gig. And so as we were talking about earlier, the supply chain, some of that is playing a part in it, but I believe, that will be pretty soon, so those customers can get up to 1 gig if they need it. And all the statistics that I gave you today for those 4 cooperatives, they are for their ILEC and their CLEC operations. So it's a combined total for that. And all of the GTA members, for the most part, do have an ILEC territory as well as a CLEC operation where they're providing their services in.
Rhonda, you might your acronym. Just tell them a little bit about what that is.
Okay,
ILEC. I mean,
yes, let me show you that. And I actually have a map that might help with that. I know Chairman Parsons probably very familiar with this map. So over on the right-hand side, you'll see a map of Georgia, and it has, years ago, I think, and I don't know all the history. I grew up in the telephone industry with my dad being one of the general managers, but I don't know all the history behind that. But I do know that years ago, REA, they when they were doing some of the electric member, power industry, they assigned some areas for telephone companies where they're the carriers of last resort. And what that means is if somebody in those areas want a telephone, they must provide. They have to provide a telephone. And so those areas really don't change. However, if you go out of those areas to provide service, then you have to have what's called a CLEC certificate, and that's a competitive certificate, and you get that from the Public Service Commission, and then they're able to edge out of their territories and still provide service to customers. And so that map, it has all of the telephone providers in the state of Georgia on that map. And really all I want to do is show you in relation to the broadband availability map that we talked about earlier. And I know that Jessica Simmons and Commissioner Nunn went over this map in detail with y'all. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them the best I can. But I really just wanted to show you where our co-ops were on that map so that you would see that. And there's no, as we talked, I think somebody asked that question about the differential between the speeds. It shows one speed regardless of what's served. So you'll notice in wherever orange is, and we're serving a gig, somebody else could be serving 25.3, and there's no differentiation between those speeds on that particular map. The blue stars are our 4 co-op members, and you'll see that they are showing served with a few speckled areas that are showing unserved, and I just wanted to kind of explain on the map how that works. So the map is only updated about once a year. So as our companies are doing fiber builds out, which we just, one company just completed one, or maybe one, completed the first of the year, those maps, it's not live. So that data does not get updated right away. It will get updated once that map gets that information about once a year is how they do that. So, does that explain the ILEC, CLEC? Okay, thank you. And so really, as far as Senate Bill 17, that's our update. And, it's good for me because I can brag that, our co-ops they're getting it done. Their areas are not the areas that we're seeing on the map that are not served. So I'm very proud of them. We also have 2 of our GTA members who are partnering with the EMCs, and like Jason said, we did coordinate, and he let me have those 2, so I certainly appreciate that. They are Darien Telephone and LJ Telephone, and both of those are family, independently owned telephone companies, great families. Darien has partnered with Coastal EMC, and they're proposing to build service in Liberty Long in southeast Bryan County. And they're going to build around 450 miles of fiber. And like we said, we talked about the phases. They're going to do it in a 3-phase project. So the first phase is ready to begin. They do have that fiber. They ordered it in enough time to actually get it here. It's on the ground and ready to be installed. They did go ahead, though, because of the supply chain backlog, and order the rest of that fiber so that it would be here, hopefully, by the time they finish the first phase, and the electronics as well. So, hopefully that project will be a pretty quick turnaround in those areas and start to get some service in those counties. And the other partnership that we have is with LJ Telephone, and it's up in North Georgia, and that's with Amiclola EMC, and they're proposing service for Bartow, Cherokee, Dawson, Gilmer, Lumpkin, and Pickens County, and they're proposing to build 247 new miles of fiber. And that particular project has already begun. So they've already started installing the fiber in those areas. They've installed, I think, right around 40 miles of fiber, and that has connected an additional right around 100 customers that now did not have, broadband connection, now do have that. And again, same thing, they have 100 miles of fiber on the yard ready to start installing, and they've already ordered the rest of the supplies because they know about the backlog. So As far as Senate Bill 2, that's really the only update that we have at this time about Senate Bill 2. I did poll our members just to kind of see, Jason and I've talked a good bit about it, just to see where our members are on wanting to partner with EMCs. And for the most part, everybody's, really open to doing whatever our membership can do, to help provide broadband across the state. So I look forward to, trying to work with them and see which other companies we can partner with and help out. And I wanted to just show a brief map of the projects that I just described. And this is just the projects that we talked about just a moment ago. I have a larger map that has our whole membership and the areas that we're currently serving and that sort of thing later. But in orange, the orange ones are those partnerships. So that's just showing the territories that are proposed right now to get that fiber build out. It doesn't show the areas that they already serve, broadband and telephone service to. And then the yellow is the co-ops. And there's two eras on this map. Anytime you try to quickly get a map together from consultants, things sometimes get left off. I had a Sharpie, I'd color it in. But Jenkins County and Sumter County are also areas that our co-ops are proposing to build and get them connected with high-speed fiber. And then there's an area north of the co-ops right there in blue, and that's Jefferson County. And really what Jefferson County, they actually applied for the ARPA grant themselves without an ISP provider. So they don't have a provider right now. They're going to be asking for RFPs for a provider to provide that. And I think some of our co-ops are wanting to submit RFPs. It's right there near their area so they can edge out, beyond their territories and still be able to serve that. So we're hoping that will be another territory that we will serve. And on ARPA, just to kind of, we're talking about ARPA, so go ahead and give you an update. On the ARPA, I did not break out, the co-ops and the two partnership. I wanted to give you an update on our whole membership because, some of the partnerships that we have going or involve some of the other members and that sort of thing. So I just want to give you a brief update on where we are with ARPA. And for our members, it's never been, how do we provide broadband in rural Georgia? How do we do this? What do we go about doing it? It's always been, how do we fund it? And, over the years, they've been able to apply in different programs, like they talked about USDA, we have ACAM, we have, other projects that's allowed them to be able to get the funds necessary to do that because, in rural Georgia, you may go a mile in between, homes. And so you've paid $50,000, $65,000 for that mile, and then you only have one server. So it just sometimes doesn't make sense. So to have, the ARPA relief funds is really going to help our members to be able to build out, to maybe parts of their territories that they haven't been able to, and then also to help in areas that we might not have been able to go to before. And so when we were looking at ARPA, I would say if there's any common denominator in a group, like I said, we have 22 members, and when you get into rural Georgia, they're all independent, and by that I mean they're independent. So, but if there's one common denominator that I see in that group, it's about customer service. They all want to make sure that they are not only provide great services, but that when you see, Betty or whoever in the grocery store, that she's got a question, she's going to be able to ask you a question and they know you. So, they're all community-based companies. So when they started looking at projects, you can go apply for, a pie in the sky and apply for, lots of money, but can you really deliver those projects and can you really deliver the customer service? So that's what our companies did. We did participate very heavily in ARPA, but we feel confident that if we were funded those, we could provide the service for them. And so as as an organization as a whole, we had 9 companies that partnered directly with counties or, economic developments, but they partnered with governmental entities. And then we had the 2 that partnered with the EMCs on the ARPA grant. And then as we were doing the ARPA grant application, you could ask for letters of support, things like that. And we received a lot of those, probably even, from some of you all. But the ones that we were really, really proud of was we received 5 letters of support from EMCs. And so to us, what that says is, the EMCs recognize that our members need to serve their areas. And so they wanted to support our members by saying, we might not be partnering, but, we support you. So I think you have those in your packet. I didn't have them on the screen, but so anyway, that. And then we also had it was kind of an odd deal, so I'm not going to lie to you about that. It was a little bit different for our members. So we do have, like I said, the 14 independently owned families. And so the way the ARPA rules were, they could not apply directly. So initially in ARPA, it was only open for government, nonprofit, or co-op. And so it was such a short window. I mean, these people are brilliant, though, when it comes to telecommunications. So we got together, and they said, well, what about the association? If we can't apply directly, and in 30 days, if we haven't already started to do a partnership with a county, I'm not sure in 30 days that we can, negotiate and get that started. So we started looking at it from an association on who we could, apply for them and support their projects. And it eventually did get opened up that, all commercials could apply. And so they could have. However, with the scoring model, it still was more beneficial for us to stay together as a group and continue on the process that we were. And then the ones that were already partnering with somebody else did that. And so in that particular application, we had 14 members apply through the GTA, and it was 36 projects. And so with all of the applications in ARPA, we're proposing to serve an additional from what we're already serving. And I did a little bit of work on that in the last couple of days, because I don't have, since they're independent, I don't necessarily have all their information. But I did a little poll the other day, and I heard from 16 of the companies, and we already serve something like 150,000 locations with high-speed internet. The question I asked was anything above 120. So 100 down, 20 up. So what I wanted to know. So we already serve that as an organization. But we're proposing to serve an additional 75,000 of those locations with fiber. It will be fiber to the home. So, and just to let you see this map, we worked on this actually before the ARPA, and I put the 5 co-ops on there. And that's our as an association, that's where all of our members are located. They're on the side, and that's the hashtags are proposed projects, and the yellow is things that we're already serving. So, and really that's my presentation, and we'll entertain questions. I do have with me, I have Stephen Milner from Planners, I have Dustin Durden from Pineland, Ron Chambers from Progressive, David Stevens from Darien, and Jason Smith from LJ.
Oh, let's make them at least raise their
I know
hand.
they should. I didn't even.
Might want to know who they
I
are.
didn't know if they came in.
Start again, Miss Rhonda. Who
Yeah.
are
Okay.
these folks here?
Yeah, y'all need to know these people. I
Yeah,
will
I
tell you
think
that.
let's-
If you don't know them, you need to. That Stephen Milner with Planners Telephone, and Dustin Durden with Pineland, Ron Chambers with Progressive Rural, David Stevens with Darien, and Jason Smith with LJ. And, you can ask questions of me, and whatever I can answer, I'll be more than happy to, but I really brought the experts, so.
Yay. You got a couple of questions, Miss Rhonda.
Sure.
Al Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think one of them you answered. I wanted to clarify and make sure that Darren is a member of the association.
Yes, they're
All
a
right?
huge member.
I
Mary
know they
Lou
were,
is
and
awesome.
I'm an old traditionalist, and not but 14 of you left, David. But I sure do like the independent phone companies. So when I have a problem and I'm in Liberty, I can call Ms. Forsythe direct, and I can get an answer. My carrier now, geez, I can't even talk to a human being anymore. And I'm just not used to that. And plus, when Johnny was living, Johnny got me reservations at JJ where there ain't no reservations.
And guess what? With our partnership and Coastal EMC going together, you will have somebody that you can call. Great.
There you go. Chairman Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Rhonda. Kind of the same question for you, I guess. If you've got 22 members, how many of them are involved in the broadband business?
All of them are
22?
involved, yes.
Okay.
And really this particular update, as I understood from staff, was about Senate Bill 2 and Senate Bill 17. So because they're not co-ops or partnering with the MCs currently, I don't know exactly how much information you want, on the other ones, but I'm more than happy to, some of it I kind of anticipated might come up, and so I tried to, do that. I did hear from 16 members, and I guess, it is a mixed bag. I'm not going to lie. Some companies are at 30% of their territories providing above 100, down 20 up. Some are, I think we had, like I said, 16 responded of the 22 already. Some have to, get the information from somebody that might have been out that day or something like that. But of that 16, I believe it was 8 are at 100% in their territories. But as an organization as a whole, we're at 75%. So all of the territories that we're providing 100 down, 20 up, which realistically, unless you've got a lot of devices going on, that 100 is what I like. And I guess I could give you one little analogy, a personal story. I do live in North Georgia. I appreciate everything this council has been doing because I see the benefits of what you're doing and your commitment. But when COVID happened, and it happened to everybody, the pandemic. And I have 2 daughters that were away, they were away at college, and it was like, are they going to come home? And, do I have enough bandwidth? They're both pre-med majors, so they were going to have labs online that they were going to need. And basically, their university said, we need you to go home unless you don't have adequate broadband. The whole nation's talking about it, so they know, that people don't have that. And, so they called me and said, Mom, do we have enough service? And, me being the cheapskate that I am, I have like the lowest speed. And so I say, well, I don't know if what we have can serve you. And I really did not know. I live really far out. You go 3 miles for the national forest before you get to where my house is. And so I didn't know if I was going to have adequate speed. And just like you said, I happen to know the people at LJ, and I actually called Jason. I called Jason on his cell phone, and I said, the girls are coming home, and I need more speed. How much can I get? And he said, you can get 600, I think it was 640 down and 120 up. And I said, that will do it. And how long will that take? And it was by that afternoon. Because they're small, they're customer service, and that could have been any of our companies. If they had it, they would have provided it, and they would have provided it quickly. So, yeah.
Well, being there here, some of them are in the room. Is there anything that we can do to help y'all grow what you're doing in that sector?
One of y'all take that.
I'll just make one point, and something that's very striking that the committee you probably already are aware of, but maybe if you're not, maybe you should. As this ARPA funding is beginning to get rolled out, one thing, and this is not to cast stones at anyone because they've been in business for a long time. When we're talking about getting service to rural Georgia, if you look at this map and you compare the 2 maps between the beige on the right or on the left, as well as the areas that are traditionally served with the map on the right, you will see by and large that the teal green and the light blue, for the most part, match the beige on the left. Yes. Which means that the unserved areas in this state are traditionally served by those folks in the teal and the blue, and those are served by the traditional Windstream and AT&T. That's not anything to bash those companies because they have investments they have to make on behalf of their shareholders. But the one thing I will make you aware of is of the $3.3 billion that was applied for in this ARPA grant window, $850 million of that $3.3 billion was applied for by those 2 carriers or in a partnership with those two carriers. So would it be a wise investment for this state to invest in these areas that these companies have walked away from by and large and put government tax dollars at work to try to entice them to provide that service? We've got companies in this room, and the EMCs are included in that want to bring service to rural Georgia because that's where we're built, that's where we're headquartered, and that's what our mission is, and we stand ready to do it. That's all.
Thank you.
Next.
Yeah, I know.
It's your
I got
guys'
them all.
chance.
Anybody else? You're
It's
welcome.
y'all's chance.
I can't, these members, they're like you, and I hope some of you are served by them. And if you're a member that is served by one of our companies that maybe is not doing as well, maybe you're in an area that they haven't gotten to yet, just hang in there. We're getting to you because we have been doing it. Some of this fiber, and I don't know how much y'all want, how much y'all want to hear, but some of the fiber from these co-ops has actually been in the ground since 2006, something like that. So when we start talking about future-proof things, fiber, in our opinion, you may need more types of broadband in Georgia, but fiber is future-proof. I mean, it's been almost in the ground 15 years, and it's still able to provide those high speeds. And the way you do that is through the electronic upgrades. And so, once you get the fiber laid, really the work has just begun, because then you've got to figure out how to maintain it from that point. So,
Ms. Ron, that's just a quick question,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's appropriate. Just say I don't want to answer.
well,
But,
goodness, I don't ever know what's appropriate.
Well, I sometimes ask. But you talked about investment, and I'm just curious. And you're 22 members or 15 that you're talking about,
Yeah.
family owned, leveraging lifetimes of dollars, and what are y'all putting out there? Borrowing and putting in this.
That's a fair question, and I did not do the statistic on the ones that were partnering with the counties, and I'm sure that those estimates are up there too. I only know about the 14 and the 36 that applied through the association.
Sure.
So we had an association overall match of 43%. So not only are they willing to do it, they're willing to put their own money into to do it, if they can just receive those funds. And then, one company did 100% match, maybe one could only do 10%. I mean, we're talking about, a couple of our companies only have, 800 customers, because their counties are small, and, people can't afford broadband. And that's just, where they're at in that county.
I believe this gentleman wants to say
Yeah,
something.
I will share.
And you do too, don't you?
Yeah, probably,
We were-
knows more about that one.
Gonna hog the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just doing some ciphering on the church pew over here. So the GTA application was 196 million total.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And between the two planners and Pineland, we're partnering with I think 5 total counties in the ARPA funding. That adds another 90 million to it. So it's close to about $300 million that we would
I
invest
did
through
do
this
those
ARPA
numbers.
grant window.
I did do those. It was right at.
Well, I just think that's important for our members to know, and others who maybe that you all are invested. We know you are for over the years I've been around.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go to the microphone, please.
I was just going to add to that, it's not even just the investment that we're making, but in our case, we made those relationships, and those applications were filed directly by the county. We thought it was appropriate for the county to make that application to show the local support. And in the cases, actually, Dustin and I actually on Jenkins County, that's 2 ISPs that are actually working together with one county, which I think is a little bit unique. Mainly that we can actually get along and do that, but, well, kind of. Depends on what day it is. Yeah, depends on what day it is. But that these counties are actually putting skin in the game, that they're putting in 15, 25% of their money, because they're identifying the fact that we're the companies that they want to work with. And I think that shouldn't go lost either.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad I asked. I'm glad you answered.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Sure.
follow up just one?
Oh, please, Rhonda.
Just
Yeah.
because, we really haven't talked about this, and you said you don't know what's appropriate. I don't know what's appropriate either, but I think sometimes it's good to just have all the information. So, one of the things that our membership has really struggled with is they've been putting money into broadband for years. So like Bullock telephone for, any of these, I could use any of these for example. They're 100% billed out. Where'd that money come from? A lot of it came from their companies. A lot of it did come from programs, but a lot of it came from inside equity that they've already put into it. And, they're leveraging those assets, but still at the same time, there was no extra points for that in the ARPA application. So when you file it, you didn't get a score if you'd already put in $84 million into your infrastructure. So, they've already invested in rural Georgia. That's what we do,
Sure.
So just keep that in mind as you're thinking.
So you live with.
Yeah.
Well, we sure appreciate it. Thank y'all for what you do. And I'm just going to tease Jason. Jason, raise your hand. Jason's my telephone provider and broadband provider. And committee, I'll tell you, they do respond quickly, because I was gone for a few weeks and maybe a month, and got stuff piled up on the table, and I didn't pay my bill. And I didn't call Jason, but I should have. But I paid my bill, and by golly, within 30 minutes it was on. Thank you, Jason. You know, but it was as a side. Whew, my goodness. But members, Chairman Watson and Chairman Corbett and I thought this is something we needed to do, just to learn what, because we need to be proud of what we've done. And we brag to our members and others about what you've done with the Rural Development Council, and we just appreciate, and hope y'all stick around and let some of our members ask you questions. Just, Deidre wanted me to make sure I told you, some who came a little bit late, next meeting will be December 7th, 8th, and 9th in Blue Ridge. And we'll send out the,
Where is that?
hey, but Mr. Al,
Get with me.
Ron just says she's going to bring some apple pie.
Hey, and text me how many pies, and I will bring them.
Her family makes wonderful ones, that's for sure. But, and one other little thing, you're sitting here kind of going, but there are other people doing broadband too, and why are they not here? And, Chairman Watson and I talked about this. We wanted just to report on work that we had done. I mean, specifically about these two bills that you heard about, and just how it worked. So you could be proud of it and know about it. And there'll be time for others to talk too. But anybody else got anything? Chairman Watson?
I'm good.
You're good? Right down there, 18. Dominic?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate what this committee does. I just wanted to make a quick comment, a little bit about what we're going through right now with reapportionment. And this committee has been charged with trying to do something about the decline in population, especially in rural South Georgia. In the last two redistrictings, we've lost 3 House seats and at least 1 Senate seat in rural South Georgia. And if this General Assembly and the leadership up here don't continue to do what this committee's doing and take seriously trying to keep our children and our families and the people in rural South Georgia there to work and live and raise a family, 10 years from now, we'll lose 3 more seats. And it is a very odd thing that happens. I mean, my district's a victim of that, and that's just the way it goes with population. But as the state grows and rural Georgia declines, you lose representation, and these men and women on this committee, a lot of them will represent more people. And it's a challenge to be able to fix these problems, and certainly we've come up with some good ideas. Rural broadband is key, but I can't stress enough how important it is that we try to invest everything we can into these rural communities to keep that population from going down as Atlanta grows and we just continue to lose. So that just wanted to throw that in there, Mr. Chairman, and this committee's really working hard, and thank y'all for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Mr. Floor Leader, for your love of rural Georgia. That's it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.